In this video, I'll be playing a whole season with Man United in FIFA 14 using Moyes' squad with one major change. I'll be giving him the 3 players he wanted and said they were close to signing. Also, I will be playing every single game in the season, no simming allowed whatsoever. So let's get straight into it. So Moyes just made the one signing in his first window, signing Fellaini for 28 million, despite him having a £23 million release clause in his contract a month earlier. But according to Moyes, they were going to sign Fabregas if he hadn't have played in Barcelona's opening game of the season. Another player they were close to signing was Gareth Bale, and lastly Toni Kroos was so close to signing for Man United from Bayern that Moyes was actually on his sofa when he got sacked. So these are the players that I'm going to be putting into the United squad for the season to see how we do. And this is going to be what I'm going to call a career mode quickie. So the stat stuff is going to be a bit different, especially compared to the bigger projects like the Stoke or Barcelona save. More comparing us to Moyes type stuff, and that'll be at the end. But let's get into the season. Our season would start with the Community Shield against Wigan. In real life, Van Persie scored twice in a 2-0 win, getting Moyes his single trophy at the club. Zaha started on the wing, and Januzaj made his debut in what would be his standout season. Toni Kroos had our first chance, a shot from just outside the box, and Fabregas would have our second shot later. Ever found Rooney for this diving header that would have been lovely, but we try again with an out-swinging wrong-footed cross this time for Rooney to get our first opening goal of the season with a lovely header and what will be enough to win us our first trophy of the season, currently matching Moyes' record. Our league season would start against Swansea. In real life, Moyes started well with a 4-1 win, and Van Persie started our season off with a volley after Bale's attempt, but after a questionable penalty, it would be our subs who would come to the rescue, after Nani and Kagawa would link up off the bench to get the winner. This actually continued Kagawa's form off the bench after scoring this goal in the friendlies. So we started the season with a win, but we have Chelsea, Liverpool and City all in our first 5 games of the season. Famously, Moyes actually was very upset about this. We suffered our first defeat after this Hazard goal against Chelsea, and Liverpool were just far too much for us. A duo of Sturridge and Suarez both getting on the score sheet. Toni Kroos would get his first assist with this lovely ball up to Nani, who would then score a second after this Evra cross. And then wouldn't you know it, Gareth Bale would get the opportunity for his first goal after this counter-attack, and he puts it away calmly 3-2 at Anfield after going 2-0 down in the first half. We'd lose to City though, meaning that we got 3 points from a possible 9 in those games. In real life, United only got 1. Enough comparison for now though, I'll come back to this later, for a very good reason, but let's just start churning through this season. In the Champions League, our form was outstanding, winning 1-0 against Shakhtar in the opener. We conceded 2 dodgy pens against Sociedad, but De Gea saved 1, and Bale got his best goal yet, scoring on the volley to make it 1-1. Ever and Carrick also got goals in this game to make it 3-1. And then after a 2-1 at Old Trafford to Leverkusen, we had our most convincing win yet, where Hernandez got 3 assists and a goal against Sociedad after getting himself injured in the first half of the reverse fixture. Kagawa also got a brace in this game, and then Hernandez would then score 2 more headers in the Shakhtar away game, winning 3-0, and we completed our 100% Champions League record against Leverkusen, where Ryan Giggs scored this goal of the season contender, 6 games and 6 wins in the group stage of the Champions League. In real life, United were also unbeaten, only drawing 2 games, the 2 away ties to Sociedad and Shakhtar. Going back to the league, Bale was doing okay, getting a header against West Brom, a nice finish from the right against Newcastle. Toni Kroos had his best game against Stoke in the 3-0 victory, getting the opener on the volley, and then forcing the save that allowed Rooney to put in the second. Our first really poor result was losing 1-0 to Fulham. We had so many chances to get back in that game, but we couldn't convert any of them. Much like United in real life, who infamously crossed the ball 81 times in that game. So after 10 games, we came up against Arsenal while we were in 8th. Only 6 points off top 4, but 8 off top spot. We trialled the back 3, and it didn't go particularly well. Podolski getting 2 against us very early on. The dreaded Arsenal link-up did happen though, Fabregas assisting Van Persie in the 65th minute to make it 2-1. Fabregas then did go get himself a complimentary yellow card to really wind him up as well. And somehow he even got man of the match despite us losing. We continued trying the formation, it worked out well against Everton. Great link-up play between Fabregas, Evra and Van Persie for the second goal in that 2-0 win. We beat Tottenham 3-1, where Hernandez started to turn that Champions League form into league form, Bale getting a yellow card in his return to White Hart Lane. Fabregas got 2 yellow cards to get sent off against Villa. I gotta say, he looks a lot like Evra right here. This was a game that we had to come back from 2-0 down to make it 2-2. And then Hernandez continued his form against Cardiff, scoring a true poacher's goal in this one. He got another in the next game too to make it 3-0 after this absolutely smashing goal from Rooney. I keep expecting to have to tell you about a bad run of form here or there, but in reality we're kind of just doing alright. Even in games where we seem to underperform, we'll score a wonder goal here and there and just call it a day, like these 2 against Norwich. Bale scored what he thought was the winner against Tottenham at Old Trafford, but his replacement, Soldado, scored a late penalty to draw the game, and then Rooney got himself a perfect hat-trick against Swansea. So we're not doing bad. But there is a long-standing tradition of me over-rotating in the cups and going out early. It would be no different in this save, losing 1-0 to Peterborough in the first round of the FA Cup. In the League Cup, Young had a standout performance against Doncaster, winning a penalty and converting this dink after a great pass from Ryan Giggs. And then we faced Newcastle in the next round, and Carrick scored an absolute blinder with his weak foot to equalise, but Cabaye would put it in from a tight angle, and that would beat us out of the competition early. In real life, United made it to the semis before losing to Sunderland on penalties. Back into the league though, a 1-1 against Chelsea, and then losing 1-0 to Arsenal had the beginnings of a bad run, and then Fulham solidified themselves as our bogey team for the season, Berbatov getting a brace against us. But it was Stoke to the rescue as Bale scored a lovely goal to get us back on form, and now into the Champions League knockouts. So we came up against Dortmund in the first ones. Piszczek got the opener, but seconds later Van Persie would get a crucial away goal straight from kickoff. A fantastic assist by Kroos. Ferdinand conceded this penalty though, pretty weak, shoulder to shoulder, and Royce obviously had no issue converting that. Toni Kroos coming up big once again though, getting the equaliser, repaid by Van Persie. So the game ended 2-2, a pretty good position to be in before the home leg, especially because away goals did matter at this time, so we had 2 away goals. With one eye on that, we fell 2 behind against City, Milner of all people scoring this one, but Toni Kroos continued his form and Evra got the equaliser before Ferdinand made this amazing last-ditch tackle to keep the game 2-2, making it 2 2-2s in 2 games. Oh, and by the way, here's an Evans amazing tackle that I forgot to show you in the reverse fixture. And then before we get into that second leg, an amazing pass from De Gea here meant that Rooney had to slot away this last-minute penalty to win the game against West Ham. And now back to Dortmund. Unfortunately, we conceded early to Lewandowski, but as Rooney picked up the ball in the 82nd minute, he would hold it up before turning and strolling past Subotic. He then goes for the shot and stops it. Subotic goes from here to here in that one move, and then Rooney just finesses it past the keeper. A fantastic goal to make it 1-1. And with our 2 away goals, that would be enough to get us through to the next round where we were drawn Man City. A Dimichelis chance at the near post made it 1-0 to them in the first leg, but he was unable to prevent this chip shot from Van Persie in the second half. So we went into the second leg 1-1, but once again winning on away goals. And in that game, nothing happened. The game ended 0-0, with not really any big chances for either team. We progressed, and we were drawn against Bayern Munich. In real life, Bayern were actually the team that knocked United out this year. I remember watching the second leg and going absolutely crazy when Evra scored his goal. I remember literally running around the room amazed by it, screaming, and I hadn't even finished by the time they scored the equaliser, and I just remember it going downhill from there. In my memory, they scored 3 goals just like back to back to back. We had a game against Hull just before that, in which Kroos scored the one and only, and then he had to psych himself up because next he'll be playing against his former team at his former stadium, Bayern Munich. So we started well, Ferdinand almost scoring from the corner in the 12th minute, and then Van Persie would run a penalty, which of course Rooney would convert. Lahm had a great chance here and hit the crossbar, only to then put it in off the rebound, making it 1-1. And then after a low cross from Hernandez, Van Persie had an open goal to make it 2-1, but the link-up play of the season would mean Lahm would score his second and make it 2-2. Robin almost finished it in the 90th minute if it wasn't for this David De Gea save, but the final whistle came, and once again, in the knockouts, we came away from the first leg with crucial away goals. But another draw, meaning after an 100% win rate in the group stage, we actually had a 100% draw rate in the knockouts. And yet we're currently on track to make the final just like that. All we need to do is draw with less than 3-3. If we draw 2-2, we're through. If you draw 1-1 or 0-0, we're through. So we're doing really well. And I'm sacked. Dude, let me tell you, when this happened, I was in so much disbelief. I even recorded a video at the time.
What? How? I had the away goals. I've been getting through on the away goals every single time. I can't believe that. What? I was totally going to get to the final, and it could have been CSK. I could have won that final. I would have won the Champions League final. I think so. And they've sacked me. I can't believe this. I wonder if this is how Moyes felt. I'm sure he was probably sadder than I am. Probably saw it coming.
With that, the season has come to an early end, and suddenly we've basically mirrored Moyes, even with his preferred players. So I want to do a little deep dive and see how I did in comparison to him. Did I deserve to get sacked? Well, firstly, we are indeed in 8th, but we have 4 games to go, and a lot of the teams above us have played 2 extra games. We win our 2 extra games, and we're 1 point off top 4. And by the way, the reason for those games in hand is because we were in the Champions League semi-finals, currently winning the tie on away goals. Needless to say, I'm a bit miffed. but I don't think our league position is necessarily that bad. But let's get into some of the direct comparisons. Firstly, David Moyes was sacked by Man United on the 22nd of April 2014. I was sacked on the 25th of April 2014. I made it a crucial 3 days more than he did, so I'm currently winning. Excluding friendlies, he did play more games, particularly because of his League Cup run, so he had 51 games to my 45. So we'll do some per game stats here. In terms of wins, I had 25 and he had 27. Draws, he had 9 to my 11. And losses, he had 15 to my 9. So points per game works out as me on 1.91 and him on 1.76. So despite him having less draws and more wins, his 6 extra losses in those bonus games really pulls it in my favour, me having more points per game on average than him. His team had scored 86 goals and conceded 54 for a total goal difference of plus 32, with me on a goal difference of plus 21. Goals per game, mine was 1.56 to his 1.69. So his team was more attacking, as bad as that sounds, but really it was the league performance that made such a big difference for Moyes. After never finishing below the top 3 in the Premier League, Moyes found himself in 7th with 4 games to go. I also had 4 games to go, and I was actually 8th. But let's put us side by side. So we had 60 points to his 57, and we only sat 7 points off top 4 with a game in hand. Meanwhile, Moyes was 13 points off top 4, with that gap just being a little too big. Side note, I do have to say, it's pretty funny to see that when Moyes got sacked, Liverpool were 5 points clear top of the table with 3 games to go. So I guess all this goes to show that, if I'm honest, we did have a pretty similar record to him, but I still think I should have been given at least 2 more games to see if I got into the final and if I could get close to that top 4. We'll do a quick little check on the awards. For player of the season, I'm going to nominate Rooney, Evra, and Toni Kroos, the best performing of the 3 signings, I would say. Let me know who you think should win that award. For goal of the season, here's the list I'm going to go with. Gareth Bale's volley here. Nanny from distance against Norwich. Ryan Giggs' little chip in the cup. And then, of course, Rooney's goal against Dortmund. I'm going to go with the Rooney goal as manager's goal of the season. Let me know who the fans' goal of the season goes to. It doesn't have to be one of the nominees in case I've missed one out. But yeah, thank you for watching this quickie. That's going to be it, and I'll see you in the next one.